Hey, what's good? Peace world, peace world. Want to make this video for all the world to see. All the world to see. And want to make this video and share a part of my life. I want to make a open declaration, an open profession, and also want to make a open and a public apology for all the world to see. I want to be transparent and unashamed, making a declaration of profession about my love, and also make an apology about my errors and my mistakes that I made with somebody that I love with all my heart and my soul. I've been in a relationship with a young lady, a beautiful young lady, and her name is Sarah Janae Kendrick. I love her with all my heart and my soul. I call her my little sugar baby. That's wifey. And I'm making this video to talk about some things that had, transpired, recently. And I just want to say, again, like I said before, we've been dating for some time. We've been dating roughly for about 3 years. And at some point in our relationship, I proposed to her and asked her to marry me, and I wanted to make her my wife, make it official. My wifey is my wife. My little Suge baby is my little Suge baby. And I call her little Suge baby. Matter of fact, she called me Wolf. I don't know if you can see that. She called me Wolf. And but again, like I said, at some point I proposed to her and asked her to marry me. I wanted her to be my wife. 100% step into this 10 toes down. I want you to be my wife. So after that, after I proposed to her, at some point, we set a date, and we also began to seek out premarital counseling, and we did that, and we started to do premarital counseling. And the premarital counseling, it was okay, but there were times that if I'm honest, that we both were like, man, I don't know if I'm feeling this. I'm not feeling this. There were things that we just really didn't 100% like, but that's neither here nor there right now. But we were doing the premarital counseling, and we're working through it. And at that time, there would be things that would come up in the premarital counseling, because, in the premarital counseling, as you're supposed to be focusing on the whole idea of marriage and the covenant of marriage, and what that means, and you're supposed to, in premarital counseling, also focus and identify the role of the husband and focus on identify the role of the wife. All those things, those are things you're supposed to do. Again, I said supposed to. But as we would do the premarital counseling, at least in our premarital counseling, a lot of times we would bring up things that would kind of turn into like some hot spots, and we would bring things up, and then we would get past it. We were doing that, and then as the time was going by, getting closer to the marital date, we also get to the time where it's the time for the bridal shower. And then at the time of the bridal shower, it was a bunch of things that happened at the bridal shower. Now, I wasn't there, obviously, but there were a lot of things that happened that affected Sarah, affected the woman I loved. That things weren't going the way that she wanted it to go. I mean that caused her to literally cry, and she was very upset by things that happened. And then there were a lot of things that happened with the bridesmaids and other things that happened that in short caused some, at least one of the bridesmaids to be dropped from the bridal group because of things that were happening. It's just things that were not good. And then as we're pushing along, we're getting closer to the marital date. I want to get to the point where we're maybe about 2 weeks out. The pastor who's supposed to officiate the wedding, who was the premarital counselor, by the way, one of the premarital counselors, he tells us, I just realized, I forgot to tell you guys, I can't officiate your wedding in the state that you live in. I don't have the license to marry you in the state that you live in. And we're like, what? What is this? So now think about it. She's dealing with the things from the bridal shower. Then she hears this on top of it. And I'm like, what? Wait, that's not true. So I'm Googling on my phone to try to figure out what's going on, to see if what he's saying is true. And then, you know, I think she called her mother, and it just was a lot of things. So now we got those things that happen. And now on top of that, about a week out from the marriage date, there were some things that happened. There were some things that were said that I heard. You know, my woman Sarah speaking to amongst her friends. And honestly, now in hindsight, when I think about those things and I see the things, I'm like, you know, I understand and see that it was a lot of, with that issue, it was a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding. Miscommunication and understanding. And like anybody out there who's listening, you know, in a relationship, and especially in a marriage and working towards a marriage, communication is so key. And there was a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding there for the things that I heard. And so now, because of that, again, we're about a week out. The marital counselor, who's the pastor, calls me maybe a day or two after this happened, maybe 3 days after this happened. And he's like, hey, I just called to check on you guys and see where we stand with everything, because, you know, I know there may be some issues and concerns, so I just want to see where you guys stand. But he only calls me. And as he calls me, he's like, you sure? Is there anything you want to talk about? So I'm like, well, you know, there's a few things, not really a few things, but I'm like, there's just one thing that just concerned me. I know, me and Sarah been trying to figure it out. I'm trying to talk to her about it. He's like, well, what is it? And I talked to him, and he's like, well, we got to get together on this. It's a 911 emergency. We got to get together. And with that, now when we get together in the group, this whole thing, it gets blown up. Again, because there's miscommunication or a lack of like real communication and misunderstanding that's taking place. And I'm not going to say this is the reason, but I attribute some of that to all of the other things that are already happening. Because if I didn't say it already, the whole idea of marriage and covenant, the enemy, Satan, the devil, whatever you call him, he hates the whole idea of marriage and covenant, especially between two believers. And me and her are believers, by the way. And that's one of the things I love about it. I have my own personal relationship, a strong relationship with God, and she has her own personal and strong relationship with God. And we have a relationship with God together corporately as well. And like I said, the enemy hates the whole idea of marriage. So it's no surprise that when I see now, like, as we get closer to the marriage date, all these different things are happening. The enemy is throwing darts, daggers, he's throwing logs, he's throwing rocks, he's trying to put mountains in the way. There's all kind of things that are happening as we get closer to the marriage date. And so, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, so now the things we're discussing with the council, because of the miscommunication and all these things, and because of other things that had happened in the past, the small things, and I say small because in our relationship with this woman that I love with all my heart and my soul, Sarah, we have beautiful time together, and we like all couples, we may have had some bad times, rocky roads, but ultimately always the good times outweigh the bad. We have fun together. We travel places, we do things together. We've been in church events and services together. We do a lot, and I'll get into that a little bit more after. But so now, because of these things, the issue that there's misunderstanding and a lack of communication or miscommunication. Now the seed is being planted in my head, and I'm feeling like, wait, I bring up to him, I'm like, I just want to get understanding about this, and now I'm like, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this and get this figured out, because all I want at the time is like, man, I want some surety, I want some certainty. Like, wait, because what I heard, I'm feeling like it might be something that, you know, I'm feeling like there may be something that I just really need to know for sure on that end, and it was because of miscommunication. Again, I stepped in the conversation. I heard the conversation not in the beginning, but somewhere midway through. And when you do that, if you hear only half of a conversation, it's gonna lead you to your own interpretation or understanding of the conversation, which ultimately can almost always be wrong because you don't have the full story. So now these things are happening, and as we get closer to the date, because of what I said, and mind you, I want to say I never ever once said that I don't want to marry this woman because I love her with all my heart and soul. This is wifey. This is my little Suge baby. That's what I call her. Like I said earlier, this is my wifey. This little Suge baby. This is my Saray. And so, because of that, now there's more misunderstanding and miscommunication and compounded by all of the other things that are already happening and trying to figure things out and and with all of these things, now there's the miscommunication, the misunderstanding, and it's lead to the place where things just got so chaotic and it blew up and it got blown, I feel, out of proportion, because at the end of the day, my thought is like, we still gonna push through, but we need to get some understanding about this. I just want to know what is what. And because of that, and because of how the enemy is working, throwing his darts, his logs, his knife, his ninja stars, shooting his shots, everything, whatever you want to call it, because of all that, things get chaotic and blow out of proportion. And then there's no real the communication that needed to really take place. And also what I think, I remember I said with believers, the prayer and the covering and the things that should have took place, they weren't happening. Everything got chaotic and it just blew up all out of proportion and all out of place. And then that leads me to where I'm at here today, making a public apology. I made a public declaration of profession about the love that I have for this woman, Sarah, who I love. I love her. I love her. I love her in so many ways for so many things, and I'll get into that. But so I just wanted to be here right now and to make a public apology for the whole entire world to see. Because, my thought, I feel like what God led me to today was this. I feel like when you make a big mistake, you need to make a big correction. You need to make your big good. You make a tremendous mistake, you got to make a tremendous right. So I'm here today publicly for the whole world, unashamed, and being transparent about my personal life, and I'm a very private person, but I'm making a public declaration again for the love profession about my feelings for Sarah, my professions for you, Sarah, and also to come here to make a public apology, making my big apology for the whole world to see, to say I want to take responsibility for my part and where everything went chaotic and exploded. I ain't gonna pass the buck and talk about what this one did and that one did and everything. We know there was a lot of things happening, for sure, for sure. There was things happening, and there were things that where other people were dropping the ball and things that were done. But I'm not focusing on them. I want to focus on me, because I also believe, as a believer, that ultimately when things get out of place in a relationship, the fault lies and falls on the head, which is the man. And when I say head, I'm not talking about the boss. When I say head, I ain't saying the ruler. When I say head, I ain't talking about the man that say, when I say this goes. No. I don't believe that about headship. I believe when we talk about the head, the man, I'm talking about the responsibility. Because as a matter of fact, in the Garden of Eden, where the first relationship was established, which should also tell us the importance in the covenant of marriage, because there was a covenant that was established between the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, and it also should tell us how the enemy looks at and always will attack the covenant of marriage, because that's what he did basically to the covenant relationship of Adam and Eve. It was an attack on the relationship and the covenant. It was an attack on the relationship, because the enemy also recognized, and he recognizes how important the covenant of marriage is. So, but what I say all that to say, in that Garden of Eden, when there was Adam and Eve and the covenant was established between them, they both had ate of the fruit that the enemy gave them. But when God shows up on the scene, God didn't go to Eve, even though she ate she ate of the fruit first and she gave it to her husband. He didn't go to her first, and he didn't even go to the enemy who gave them the fruit. He went to who? He went to the head. He went to the man whom he set up and held as the responsible one for that covenant relationship. Adam was responsible for not only for him and for his wife. He was the one supposed to cover it. And I want to take responsibility as the man for what I did not do, for the lack of the things that I did not do, for the things that I did out of misunderstanding, miscommunication. I want to take responsibility for it, and to say that, babe, I'm so sorry. But still, nonetheless, I pray for your forgiveness and everything that happened. I pray that you forgive me, and I pray that we move forward, because I love you. I love you. And just like I told your mother, just like I tell everybody else, I still want to marry. I want to be married to you. You are wifey. You are wifey to be wife. You are Sarah Graham. You know, like, I'm professing that, and I'm claiming that. However we want to say it, yeah, you are Sarah Graham. And I'm standing on that. And again, I want to take responsibility. I want to put it on me. I want to show my love. I want to walk in love. And right now, as I'm asking for your forgiveness, I'm also I'm asking for, and as I told you, I've been this, with all of the things been going on, I'm praying and I'm fasting, for God to also to intercede in this entire situation. I'm praying for God. I'm seeking God's face in this whole entire situation. I'm asking God for his mercy, for his grace, for his covering, for his love, for his hand to be over things, because God loves marriage. God loves the idea of marriage. And I was speaking to my grandfather, who's a pastor, by the way. My grandfather said something to me. He said, God will join people together before they're actually officially joined on paper. God will join people together, and I believe that God joined us together and brought us together. You, my wifey, you the match. You the match. That's why I love you so much. Because your relationship with God, and in all of the little things you do, spiritually, and not just spiritually, the things that you do when it comes in regards to a wife. As we got closer, as our relationship progressed on in time, there would be the little things that I would see and I would recognize. And, I wouldn't always say it, but in my mind, I'd be like, I will observe it. And I see that, like, little things she started to do, again, like I said, I'm a preacher and teacher of the word. When it's time, the nights I got to preach or whatever, she would set my Bible in place. If I'm not feeling good, she had my tea set up there with me for me with the Bible and everything. As a wife, she would do other little things. She would have the fold clothes that I open up my drawer. I'm like, my socks. Oh, I got socks in here already rolled up and set in place in the drawer. She would be matching my energy and my efforts. Because for me as a man, I'm gonna make sure the bills are paid. I'm gonna make sure everything is covered. The lights stay on, the water's running. I'm doing all those things, right? But she would match my effort in the things that I did, and she would also be my match spiritually. She's the woman that, like, I would go and walk into a room. She's in there praying. She got her worship music on. She's praying. She's crying out to the Lord. She's the type, we could read the Bible together. We read the God's word together. We pray together. We do all those things together. Again, we have fun. We travel. We do go around the world. We have a good time. All those things. She wifey. She's the wife. She's the one. I love her with all my heart and soul. And so, like I said, I just wanted to make this public declaration and profession of my love and my feelings for Sarah, for you, Sarah, and to also make a public apology for my part in where things went wrong. And then in my hope and in my prayers of everything where I stand right now is that the door that God has opened up for us, that we will walk through that door together hand in hand. Be married is man and wife. And God will give us abundantly more than we ever hoped or asked for. Now, things may not go the way that we originally planned, are not happening the way we originally planned, but still, nonetheless, God can do abundantly more than we ever hoped to ask for. And I also look at like this, and this may sound crazy, but like what the enemy meant for evil, what he tried to do, what he tried to meant for bad, God turned around and used it for good. Because again, it may sound crazy, but with the bad of all of the things that would happen, a lot of things were being exposed. I'm talking about with people, places, and things were being exposed. And also it brings out things that I realize and I look now that need to be fixed. Things that I need to do. I ain't talking about anybody else. I ain't talking about her. I ain't talking about anybody else. I'm talking about things that I need to do, get done. And now those things are done. And those things are right, because honestly, it would not be good to bring those things into the covenant that way. And now with those things, as me and Sarah come together and we go into this marriage, we go into it a better way, God's way, no doubt in my mind. And again, for me and her, I know that I believe that God's favor will be on our relationship and our covenant. There's so many things that we talk about, church and other things too that we, that we plan on doing, and even how our mind think on so many other things, like, that's wifey. Like I said, things that I'm into and I like, she like too. I'm also a musician. I'm a musician artist, Christian musician artist, and she's a match with that too. I might write a rap. She got some bars too. And also not only that, she loves my music, and and she's a fan. And then she'll also tell me, look, if it ain't right, I need to work on that. If I say something in the sermon or while I'm preaching, teaching, like, you might need to do this or do that. That's wifey. That's wife. Don't matter what anybody think or say. That's wifey. And I pray that her thought the same thing. Don't matter what anybody think or say. That's my man. That's my man. That's my man. That's what she be saying. That's my man. Yeah. That's us. So I just wanted to make this thing public, make it transparent for the world to see. Like, so there's no doubt. There ain't no doubt in anybody's mind. Everybody know. Everybody. This wifey. Love her. Love you, sir. And my thought continue to be in prayer for our relationship and our covenant and our marriage, because that's how serious I am about it. I'm serious about this. That's why I've been fasting and praying, serious about it, standing on this 10 toes down, and just wanted to make this thing public, unashamed, unfiltered, for the whole world to see. Let you know, that's wifey. You my wife. And so yeah, I love you. And again, for the whole wide world, everybody know. All right. Y'all have a blessed one. Peace.